VinnDoggRadio on New Jerusalem 101.
We are praying for people to come to Jesus because...
Hey, what's up? It's Rick Dees in the morning. Don't forget to wake up with me right here. But right now, VinnDogg.
What's up, VinnDogg?
Welcome, my good friend VinnDogg.
Let's bring on VinnDogg.
Don't let the government be your dad.
Captain America here, man. Actually, I'm privileged to be on here with the Captain America for Jesus, baby. This is it.
Yes.
And then we've got none other than VinnDoggRadio. What's going on, man?
Now here he is, a lover of God, people, and country. Captain America himself, VinnDoggRadio.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tuesday, and this one is going to be a very special podcast. Normally, we always have fun, but we tell the truth on top of it all. But today, we're going to get a little bit serious because everything that is happening in the Middle East is definitely on fleek, and we need to really set the record straight and let people know what time it is, because a lot of people are just getting things misconstrued, and it is really terrible. All right? But before we do that, please do me a favor. If you are on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. If you are on X, formerly known as Twitter, please follow me at VinnDoggRadio, on Getter, GETTR, at VinnDogg USA, and on Rumble at VinnDoggRadio USA. And this will also be dropped on Podbean later on in the week or towards the weekend. And it will be available on iHeartRadio and Apple and Google Podcasts. Well, we'll see how long I last on Google Podcasts, but that's another story. All right. So we all know what happened on October 7th. Of course, the drive-by media, as my great mentor Rush Limbaugh would say, will not tell the truth about anything. And they will muzzle you to the gills if you do tell the truth, if you work in legacy media, which is actually DEDD. All right. So my guest is going to give you some real hard truth. And then we're going to put a stamp on it today. All right. She is of Israeli descent, and she knows exactly what pops off in Israel because she lived there before. But now she is here in America, and she does endure the anti-Semitic nonsense here in America too. And it's absolutely incriminating what happens here. All right. So I'm bringing in my friend Shiri. And hold on, let's get her in studio here. And Shiri, hi.
Hello.
Oh man, what a day, right?
What a times to live in.
Yeah, we're living in some crazy, perilous times right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I earnestly believe that, as you and I were talking prior to the podcast, this Intifada stuff was already planned from the beginning for decades. This was decades in the making. This was not an overnight, ground or air attack plan.
That's right. As I like to say, it's especially curated for the West too.
Yeah. So for those of the folks that are on right now that are watching, they don't know your story. But I was watching with a good friend, my friend Charlie Simons. And I said, wow, that is absolutely insane. Like, nobody is willing to say what it really is about Hamas and these dangerous villains, these heinous barbarians that are just like, doing things that they're saying, well, that's false. That was a made up video. It was a deep fake. And I hear this all the time. And I know it's so true because I have a friend who's a tank commander. He was a tank commander in a major in the IDF years ago. And he still has family members that are members of the IDF. And I hear all the horrifying stories of them, the things that they have to endure and things that they see on the ground. So let's get a little into it.
Yeah. Um, do you want to hear about my background? Or
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
well, I was born and raised Israeli, um, born in Jerusalem, and I lived in Israel till about I was 25 years old. I'm 40 today. I've been in the U.S. Since 2013. I've been living here, and I'm married to an American man that is born and raised in Texas. I left Israel originally in 2004, right after I was in a terrorist attack.
Mm-hmm.
It was an Al Qaeda terrorist attack that happened actually in Sinai, which is outside of the borders of Israel, and yet it's quite an Israeli destination. So those terrorists, they were targeting Israelis in Egypt. And I survived that. It was a blast on the beach. It's like a little, beach vacation spot for many Israelis.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I could no longer stay in Israel because, I grew up surrounded with terrorist attacks. But once it was me in it, I decided I couldn't deal with the trauma and the PTSD that came through that. And I found a peaceful place here in Northern California where I could live my life and raise my children and feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God for that. And nonetheless, I miss my homeland terribly. And all my family is there. And I'm absolutely heart shattered of the reality of not being able to go with my little one this year. We go every year. My child is 6 years old, and he asked, how come we're not going this year? And while I have friends who are visiting all through this horrible 9 months we've been living through, I myself cannot. I can't go by myself because if something would have happened to me and my child and my husband are here, or if war, escalate, then they shut down the airplanes and I wouldn't be able to return. Many reasons for me not to go right now. My family all is there, cousins, uncles, everyone are living through immense trauma all these months. It's war in Israel too. You wouldn't hear about it. All you hear is about Gaza and Lebanon and Israel, IDF doing this to them and that to them, and all these big words like genocide. And meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of Israelis evacuated from their homes all this time. Don't know when they can return to their homes with their families and their children out of school, 9 months now. And suffering, rockets being tossed at them day and night. You don't hear about it. Surely we have the Iron Dome, thank God for that. But nonetheless, you live under attack at all times. And and there's a lot of, let's say they live under immense distress and unknowing when it will be over. And you just drive on the highway and stop in a red light and you just pray there's no terrorist gonna jump from a car and start shooting everyone, because that happened too in these 9 months. A lot of people don't even know. I feel like the Israeli suffering and Jewish people suffering goes unseen. And I tell people, what do you call that? What do you call that when Jewish and Israeli suffering is being kind of gaslight, mocked, as if it's not real, as if there is no suffering for us Jews. We're just victimizing, right? We're just victimizing ourselves. There goes the Jew crying about how life is so difficult for them. And that's anti-Semitic. I've been experiencing this for 9 months in this country. I lost majority of my Californian friends, as I call them. I didn't realize, all these years. I had friends of 15 years who couldn't even call me on October 7th. I never knew they hated Israel. I never knew,
Wow.
All the years I would go visit and come back bringing souvenirs and bringing them gifts, and yet they always hated my country and always believed we shouldn't even exist.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, I have something to say on top of that, just to give you a moment to breathe a little bit. For people who think that Israel should not exist on the face of the earth, and I find this to be hard to like stomach, because I even have people that are supposedly in the Christian church that say that stuff now too. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're not reading your Bible, are you? I said, and first of all, the Bible is a Jewish book. Did you know that? And second of all, God says, I will bless those who bless you and I will curse those who curse you. He said that to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He made that decree with them. I will make you a father of many nations. Folks, when you think about it, you're actually kind of like going against your own self when you are talking about destroying Israel, if you look at it at the end of the day, because it goes way back, the whole lineage. I'm like, wait a minute. The human race is like the most vile race ever of wreaking havoc on earth. I mean, it's sad. And there's only close to 16 million Jews only on the planet Earth. And people are just like, so like, I hate to use the word hateful, but they are very hateful towards the Jewish people. And I'm like, this is
0.2% of world population, 0.2%. And we did not even recover in numbers since the Holocaust. We were 18 million before the Holocaust. We're barely 16 million today. I think it's somewhere in the 15.8 or something like that.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy to me that
Palestinians were about 500,000 in 1948 as refugees. They are about 2.5 million today. Where is the genocide everybody talking about?
Exactly. And second of all, the name Palestinians or Palestine was actually an insult to the Jewish people from back in the Roman times. See, people don't know their history, Shiri.
No, they don't. They do not know.
Boogery. That's all they do.
Ask the person. I just, most people are scared to approach me and talk to me because I guess I'm pretty scary or something, my anger about anti-Semitism and the ignorance and how people, they don't bother to learn history. They just follow narratives. That's how propaganda pass through, because people don't take the time to actually learn. They just trust their other friend that said so. And, Palestine was a name given by the Roman Empire for the only reason they did that is to erase Jewish footmark.
Yeah, it was an insult.
Yeah, because Jews are from Judea.
And Samaria, and I don't call it the West Bank, so I call it Judea and Samaria.
And our belonging is within our name, just like Arabs are from the Arabic Peninsula. The Arabian Peninsula. The Arabs are from Arabia. Jews are from Judea. The belonging is within the name, and therefore the Roman Empire erased our name, so we could not claim it back. They took 100,000 of us to Rome to be slaves. So in case anyone wonder how Jews got to Europe, because we are not European, we got there because we were taken as slaves from Judea. And when we were freed from slavery, we spread it all over the land we were already on. That's how Jews got to Europe. I say this to American Jews too, because they consider themselves as European descent. And I tell them, you don't even know where you come from. You do not come from Eastern Europe originally. Sure, we've been there for generations. But that was not our origin. And in fact, when we were in Europe, they would tell us to go back to Palestine. Isn't that something?
Boy.
Now they tell us go back to Europe, and I look at them and I say, oh, you mean Europe where they put us in the ovens? That Europe where those countries never defended their Jews. Only few countries, only few individual people were defending Jews. But as countries, they would give the names. They would give the Nazis the list of their Jews. And that's where they're telling us to go back now.
Wow.
Back. All our lives as Jewish people, all the generation, thousands of years. Go back there. Oh no, go back there. Go back over there. Why is the need for Israel? Why is it so important that the Jewish people live in Israel? Why it was so important that we return to our homeland? Because they chased us out. Then they tried to chase us back there. You know, if you look at Mizrahi Jews, all the Jews from North Africa and Middle East, the ones from Yemen, Iran, Morocco, you know, there were Jews everywhere. There is none now in those places.
No.
Because they were chased out. There were pogroms. They were massacred. In fact, those Moroccan Jews and Yemenite Jews, they came walking from those lands without nothing. And they were really, a lot of them were really wealthy, educated people. And those Islamic forces, they took everything from them. You know, and then they kicked them, told them, go back to your home, which they meant Jerusalem.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want everybody to understand something. This whole thing with Islam, it's not just about eradicating the Jewish population. They want to control the entire world. That's their mission.
Right.
And they say it.
Yep.
They say it.
They don't hide it.
No.
And they say when they tell you something, believe them. Believe them. That's why we do what we do, Israel, because they say they want to kill us all. And we believe them, you know?
Right. It's awful. It is super awful. So you have survived quite a few attacks over there.
Yes. I lived through the second Intifada. That's when that attack I was in happened in 2004.
I remember that. Okay.
Yeah, and also I lived through the first Intifada, but I was very little then. I remember the second one. That's also when my parents left the country because they were in fact tour guides for many, many years in Israel for Christian people. And that's how I know a lot also about Jesus and Christianity and have my full respect to that too. And my family too was saved during the Holocaust. My grandma and grandpa were saved by Christian people who hide them in their house for a few years. Saved my entire family that way, you know, because they were the only survivors of my family tree.
Why do I feel like it's getting to that point to where we're probably going to have to hide our Jewish friends and family members again?
Well, you know, it's kind of how we think naturally, just the generational trauma we suffer from. When October 7 happened, I pretty much within the first month, I started removing friends from my life who couldn't reach out to ask me how I'm doing. I was grieving for many months. We still are grieving, but the loss was unimaginable. You know, loss of friends, children of friends who were murdered in the Nova Festival, daughters, you know, that later in autopsy found that they were murdered during rape. And these are kids I know since they were born, you know, 18, 19-year-old. I have friends who were on the phone with their families in those kibbutzes when their families are being murdered, and they hear them. They hear it all on the phone.
So for people who
And
don't
then
know,
my friends couldn't even call me to see how I'm doing, so I just erased these people from my life. And when people ask me about why, isn't it too extreme? My only answer is I need people who would hide me. I need people in my life that I know would hide me and my family and not snitch on us. I need to trust. And if a friend couldn't call me after October 7th to see how I'm doing, I don't trust them. That's it.
not a true friend.
Yeah.
That's not a true friend.
And too
And
many.
second of all, for those who don't know what a kibbutz is, it's like a community of people, kind of like a village, right?
Yeah, it's a small, it's a bit in the US, those gated communities remind me of a kibbutz. You know, you guys have those gated communities, and it's really cute, you know, with a
But
gate.
they're not so united like the people in the kibbutz, though.
No, because the kibbutz would have often common ground, either politics or agriculture. The people that live in the kibbutz often are like-minded people with similar ideologies.
Right.
Yeah. And so those kibbutzes in the Gaza envelope, you know, lots of farmers, agriculture, peace-loving people. That's why they live there. They really believed that one day they could go to Gaza and visit. They believed in peace. They believed in that two-state solution. They believed in all of that. And today, none. I can't find a single Israeli that believe in that anymore.
Well, first of all, a lot of people are trying to do this whole two-state solution thing, but God says, "You shall not divide my land," and He gave basic instructions for that, because this whole thing, that area of what they call Gaza right now. See, I'm sorry, I love biblical history, so it was given to the tribe of Dan. Okay, so some things didn't get done the way God wanted them to, and so that is why that problem exists right this day. Like, Israel was trying to be very cordial with those people, because all of those people in that area are refugees, right? From different places. Egypt built a wall 10 times higher so that they didn't come back in. And now the people from Jordan and Yemen, they don't want them back over there. They're not wanted in any of their countries that they were descended from anymore, because they know they know exactly how they are.
That's right. That's right. I'm happy to hear you're very educated in the subject, because I'm kind of done like arguing with people from the other side, because there's no one to talk with, but a few months ago I was still doing that, and I would just ask people questions, because how come Rafah and all these, generally Gaza is right on the border with Egypt, just like you said. And you would think, when the Ukraine was attacked by Russia, the entire Europe opened up, right? They were like, come in, we'll help you. And you won't see this entire time, not a single Muslim country that supposedly is an ally of these people, not a single country offered to give them refuge. Although now, if you ask them, they would answer that they don't want to give them refuge because then the Palestinian they would lose the cause. Right? And that is not actually the truth. That is not actually the real answer. The answer is that the Palestinians are radicalized people. The PLO was a very, very violent organization. The Palestinian Liberation Organization that created by Yasser Arafat in 1967 is an incredibly violent, it's a terrorist organization. Their first station was in Jordan, and they got kicked out of Jordan. Why? Because they killed too many Christian Arabs, Jordanian.
Yes,
they
absolutely.
killed, and they were violent. So they got kicked out, and then they went to Lebanon, where they remained
And they were killing
But
Christians there too.
10,000.
Mm-hmm.
10,000 Christian Arabs. There's actually not many Christian Lebanese left.
No.
They're still there, but not many.
Yeah.
And so, and then you got to ask yourself too, because, between 1949 to 1967, the West Bank was
Judea and Samaria.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I only say West Bank because Americans often just know it by that name.
Well, my audience knows it as Judea and Samaria because all of them are Christians. So
yeah, so Judea and Samaria was part of Jordan, and Gaza was part of Egypt. And guess who didn't give the Palestinian their own state for those 20 years? And how come? If the Palestinians deserve a state so badly, how come their own people didn't give them that? Because
they knew exactly what their agenda was. And number two, I just want to read this statistic. It says 78% of the people that live in the Gaza area does not want peace with Israel.
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Why isn't anybody talking about that?
They again, in the last 20 years of Hamas controlling the Palestinians in Gaza, they've been radicalized. I do think that maybe before that there was higher percentage of, as we say, innocent civilians and people who wanted perhaps to coexist with Israelis. But after 20 years of Hamas controlling them, they are fully indoctrinated. There is an entire generation, if not two generations, that believe that their salvation is upon our death. And that's it. There is no two-state solution. There is no solution as long as one side wants to kill you. And all through the years since the existence of modern Israel, there have been many offers on the table for them, and they never want, not a single time. Every time an offer was put on the table, it was responded with war. Right.
And they do not just want their area, they want the entire zone. They want the entire they want the Jewish population out of there. That's what they want.
Yes, and they promote lies and blood libels about us. And now it went all the way out into America, and the entire world is on fire. And the reason for that, and like I told Charlie too, is the Muslim Brotherhood. There is a plan for the West. There is a plan. It's called the 100-year plan.
Yep, I know exactly about it.
And actually in the US, it's been in action for 20 years. Just like you said, this been already, when you look at the colleges, you ask yourself, wow, what's going on with these students? They're really just bonkers.
Pure animalistic activities. That's what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah, they're acting like a brood of vipers. I'm using words of Jesus, if you noticed. Because that's what they are. They're a bunch. They are pawns being used, and I'm going to show you guys a perfect example of how these people are acting like vicious animals. And they're yelling, "Hold the line!" Huh. These people don't even realize what they're even fighting for. I bet you 98% of these people that are in that crowd have no idea what they're fighting for. Because if they really knew what they were fighting for, they would be like, wait a minute, these people don't even want us to exist.
Exactly. And I tell it to some of my Native American friends. I have Native American friends, and I tell them, you guys are being used. You're being used. The native. Now, this is another part. If you look through, there is available documentation of the Muslim Brotherhood 100-year plan. And if you read through all the categories, Their plan to infiltrate Islamic ideology to the West was through education system and through social justice movement.
That's why you see all this BLM nonsense. It's all
There
the
you go.
false front.
I just tell people, go on Facebook and check out Sean King Facebook page. Check it out. Since the past 3 months, check out what he's been doing on there. That's the funder of BLM. That's the funder. You know what he does? He's Islamifying America. That's what he's doing. He's encouraging people to become Muslim. This is exactly how it works. This is exactly how it works. He tells them praying 5 times a day to Allah is yoga. It's meditation. You know, so you have a bunch of lost young people who don't know really what they're doing, but they're like, oh, that sounds cool. And it's very easy to become Muslim. It is very easy, right on the spot, in the street. You just need some imam to be like, okay, you're Muslim now. Just repeat what I say. Okay, you're in. It is
And
very
they don't even
easy.
realize that they're capitulating themselves to their own demise.
That's right.
And you know, in the Quran, it even says that Allah is a great deceiver.
You know, and
A lot of people don't know that.
What about that? I might say that takaya. You know about that, right? That it especially made for Muslims who left their homeland and are living in a society that isn't Muslim, and it is allowed to them to fake it. Fake identity, fake being a good citizen, fake even swearing to the American flag. That's all. They can lie about all of that until they have enough power to make it Sharia law.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
So-
look at people like Rashida Tlaib and Ilan Omar and
God.
countless amount of others, as I like to call them, the useless squad. These people, they are paid. These people are paid operatives. They're heinous animals, and I'm just gonna say it. They're heinous animals.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying, and I ask, you know, because I'm not really well versed in American politics, you know, although this war definitely got me to be more educated and more interested. And how the heck did they get to where they are? You know, that's
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, unfortunately, it's basically a uniparty system now here in the United States. You know,
Yeah.
if this was really an issue to be resolved, they even, you know, the so-called Republicans, they would have been on top of this a long time ago. But unfortunately, a lot of these people are just paid talking figureheads, and they say, yeah, we support Israel, blah, 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 but they do nothing about it. And Congress has the power to do that, but they don't. They're too busy laundering their money through the Ukraine, you know, fighting a proxy war that they shouldn't even be involved in.
It's really terrifying, because if you look at Europe is toast, just done. You know, the percentage of all the refugees they brought in, places like Sweden, there is hardly native European people left.
Yeah,
You know?
and look at England.
And if you look in statistic of the percentage of violence, especially against women,
It's high.
It went 75% high in the past 20 years since the Arab Islamic, you know, refugees and migration. The thing is too that they take advantage of the liberal, humanitarian, all
Tree huggers.
guilt that these people feel for maybe things that their ancestors did in the past, and they're like, oh, let's save them all, and good luck with that. You know, my dad already passed away, but he was a Dutch Jew, you know, that moved to Israel when he was 18 and fought all the wars, and he was a quite you know, a warrior, a veteran, and he had to move back to Holland with a major broken heart. But he said, and that was already 20 years ago. And he said, you just wait and see. In 20 years, this entire place is Muslim. They're going to take over. And they did. And they do. They do.
Yeah.
They do. It's
That's their mission. They want to take over wherever they go.
the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
That's the salvation. That's when Muhammad gonna come back. Once we're all gonna be saved, and we're all gonna pray to Allah. And they're
gonna be in for a rude awakening.
In the end of the day, too, there's plenty of information out there, and I just say believe them when they say so. There was an interview with a Arab Muslim man in Canada who was just, it was somewhere on Instagram, but he was just telling the interviewer, he said, yeah, we're here. We're gonna, we have patience. We're gonna wait, 10, 20 years. We make more children than you guys. We make 10, 15 children. So 10, 20 years, we're gonna vote our own. And you all gonna have to, obey for whatever we're voting for. This is democracy. So we're just gonna be patient, but in the end, we're gonna vote for our own, and then your country will be Muslim, inshallah. That's what they say. That's how they talk. That's what they believe in God willing. Inshallah means God willing. And they say this out loud.
But we know
to hide their agenda.
We know that their God is false, so that's even better.
Right, of course.
So,
it's actually 7th century. That's when they came. That's when they came to be. 7th century. It's like
through the bloodline of Ishmael.
Exactly. And then they conquered the Middle East. The Middle East wasn't Arab like it is today. There were tribes. There were indigenous tribes that had their own languages and practices, and the Islamic Caliphate. This is history. People don't know their history. Islamic Caliphate, one of the most violent conquests of the Middle East. And, they basically killed everyone or forced everyone to convert to Islam. And the one who didn't, they still hate, which the Jews are part of them.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're hated, because we always maintain presence on the land of Israel, no matter what people say. We were sent to Europe and North Africa, but also there were always Jews on the land, and they were in their own little communities and still being massacred. Just look at the Hebron massacre in 1930, or actually maybe even before that, 1920 something. It was just like October 7, but many years before the modern state of Israel came to be. So what was that all about? And then the Palestinians, these are migrants. They came to Israel as migrants themselves. They are not indigenous to the land of Israel like these Western liberal activists, BLMers, and indigenous people are standing in solidarity with Palestinians as if they're the same people. This is not the same people. The Palestinians are not indigenous to the land of Israel. That's a big, big lie. And people here, especially in the West, they eat it. They just eat it up.
Yeah, they're drinking the sour Kool-Aid.
Exactly.
And here's where I'm going to go with this too, because I've seen a lot of this happen. Like when I graduated from high school in the 90s, there was this whole movement of this guy by the name of Louis Farrakhan. He's an idiot. And they're all recruiting all these black people to be a part of the Nation of Islam. I'm like, did you know that the Muslims don't even like you? They say it's okay for people to own you as slaves. Like, are you that dumb? And first of all, that's kind of idiotic that you're going to try and do all this and then you're going to go against Israel. I said, because did you know that they were Ethiopian Jews through the bloodline of Solomon? People don't know that.
Nope.
They don't know that. I'm like, you're going against your own relatives when you're doing this. This is crazy to me.
It's so inappropriate too, as Jews, for me living in this country and having people coming to argue with me, telling me Jews are white Europeans. And I tell them like, when in the history of minorities this has ever been appropriate that you cancel 65% of Israelis are brown and black. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is that Americans here, all these activists, again, we go back to, they don't bother learning. They know Jews in their country as the Ashkenazi Jews what to do. They came to the East Coast. Mostly Ashkenazi Jews are, that's the Jews you find in the US. Although they don't even know that in South California, there is a gigantic community of Iranian Jews who came here during the Islamic Revolution. And it's a gigantic community of Iranian Jews in Los Angeles.
Yeah, the
People
Fairfax
don't even,
area.
how dare you calling us European? That's offensive. I mean, myself, sure, I have my lineage also related to Europe, like many of us. I'm Ashkenazi Jew, sure. What about our Mizrahi Jew? People just cancel it, ignoring it, and they're suffering. If you learn what happened in Morocco, in Iraq, it was a genocide, an ethnical cleansing. That's what it was. And people don't even know the history. They just cancel our belonging to our homeland as if what we're doing right now is wrong to protect ourselves. I tell people, what do you think gonna happen if Israel dropped their weapon?
So,
what do you think gonna happen to us if IDF was like, okay, we're done, let's drop our weapon?
oh man,
We'll
that wouldn't
be
be a good
killed.
idea. That would not be a good
They're
idea.
gonna come in and kill all of us. That's what they're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And the delusion too with this Free Palestine movement, the big delusion of, as if I tell them, okay, let's say your fantasy of from the river to the sea, that fantasy that Palestinians going to take over Israel and chase all of us out. What do you think going to happen? That they're going to skip around and live in peace? Oh,
Heck
hell
no.
no. They're going to kill. They're going to kill everyone, and they're going to kill each other too. So, unfortunately, it's a very violent culture, and people in the West with Western lenses cannot understand it, because Middle Eastern people, it's the survival of the fetus. That's the life in the Middle East. People here cannot understand it, and they come from a privilege of never experiencing war and never experiencing terrorism, especially those kids, especially those university kids, privileged,
The spoiled ones.
spoiled, and they never lived through war in their life. They have no idea. They think terrorism is a conspiracy theory. When I tell them radical Islam, they tell me, oh, well, you use this word so much. It's kind of like the white people who call the natives savages. No, it isn't. You're doomed. I'm like, you're in big trouble. Because when we say the West is next, it's exactly what's happening. And everyone need to be alarmed by this,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. And unfortunately, a lot of people are not going to be on high alert because they're going to be, doing their everyday drinking and being merry. Oh, everything's fine. No, it's not fine. Look around you. And I was going to say this too, Sherry. I know, and I have a lot of friends that come from Israel. And I noticed that a lot of people from that area from Israel, period, suffer from PTSD because of all of this stuff too.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, and I noticed that because one of my friends I know, his name is Brian. He lives in Israel, and I noticed that he gets a little fidgety sometimes, and I'm like, oh man, it's like if he hears like a shot or a firework or something, he's like, oh boy, what's that?
Yeah. I don't do well around fireworks. My son knows when it's July 4th, he goes with dad to watch the fireworks. And it's like, mommy doesn't like fireworks. Mommy go hide when there's fireworks. And that's exactly how it is. And he asked me why. And it's because mommy was in war and explosions, and she doesn't like that sound. And it brings up, and it's even beyond that. I can't be in big public places, with many people. I mean, I go with my husband and kid to like the county fair and things like that. And I'm very nervous in those places. That's because I was, I learned that those situations aren't safe. When there's a lot of people around you, that's when someone come and shoot everyone. And unfortunately, in the US, it is a reality too. But now with, I live near Sacramento, and let me tell you that in Sacramento, there is a lot of Arab population, and I don't go there so much anymore, because I feel like they can recognize me. And people will tell me, oh, you're Islamophobic. Of course, I'm some kind of degree of, when I see Arabs and I hear the language, I do have Arab friends. I grew up speaking some Arabic and having some Arab friends and neighbors. And there's very kind, in Israel, we have 2.4 million Arab Muslim Israelis. These are the same people. They were together with the so-called Palestinians, who only took that name in 1967, by the way. And the other Arabs, they don't go by Palestinians. They just Arab Israelis. And, before 1967, those Palestinians would also like to be called Arabs, not Palestinians. Why? Because someone like my grandma, who came to build the modern state of Israel before the declaration, they were called Palestinians, because that was the name of the region, the conquered, colonized region with the British. The British army was controlling it. And there was Palestinian passport. And guess what? It had Star of David on it. There was a Palestinian soccer team. And guess what? They were all Jewish with the Star of David on their shirt. And there was a Palestinian symphony in Jerusalem. And that was all Jewish people. So, and it's only once Yasser Arafat decided to make something of these refugees. They call it the Nakba, right? The Nakba means catastrophe. You know why catastrophe? Because they lost. They lost a war, and they're crying about it until today. Okay? Because we came in, and the British and the entire world agree that the Jewish people belong in their homeland, and it's time to make it official after 6 million were put in the ovens. Okay? And then, their leadership of those so-called Palestinians, their leadership told them to get out, go to Jordan and go to Egypt and wait over there. There was between 400 to 700,000 Arabs who left Israel to wait on the sidelines, because their leaders told them, don't worry, we're going to attack them. That was 5 different countries: Lebanon, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, and then also Iraq backed it up also. And they told their people, just go over there. We're going to kick these Jews out and then come back. And no problem. They were 100% sure they're going to kill us because, of course, 5 countries, what we got. But they lost, surprisingly. And that was a catastrophe in their history. And until today, I say they are sore losers. And not just that, the UN is helping them maintain this refugee status that no other refugees in the world have, where the status passed through generations. And they teach the UN, the UNRWA, who are cooperating with these terrorists, been teaching the Palestinians in their school that they have the right of return to Israel. Instead of helping them maintain their own country and their own, whatever, you have land, build, do something with yourself. Instead, all they do is teach them that they're refugees, they're victims, and one day they can catch that country back, that land which was never belonged to them. It's a big historical lie, and nobody's bothering to learn that they were immigrants themselves. They came from other countries to Israel to work. Why? Because of Zionism. Because the Jews were returning to their homeland all the way in 1800 already. And they were drying the lands that were swampy, and they were doing agriculture, and they were building. So all these Arabs from around Israel been coming to work, just like the gold
Mhm.
rush. There was the ratio was for every Jew who returned home, there were 3 Arabs who came with to work. And so when they left as refugees, some of them were only a few years on the land of Israel. So for them to say, oh, our right of return, it's a big lie. Return where? You came there as a worker yourself. Now it's yours. Now you have a right to the land. Biggest
Well,
lie in the history of the world.
This right here says that Israel was going to return to their homeland already. And just think, this is documented thousands of years ago.
What is it? Oh, the Bible.
Yeah.
I was trying to see.
It was documented thousands of years ago. Let me sorry. That was documented thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
It was documented. I mean, look, if you read about the prophet Jeremiah, where, God sent the people from Israel to Iraq, which was known as Babylon back then.
Mm-hmm.
And, and then Daniel was there. And it just goes to show you that those people, they were living in Babylon and things didn't go well there. But I cannot believe that people can deny all of this history that is absolutely 10,000% true. It's been proven. There are even archaeological finds of evidence of the Red Sea being parted when Moses led the Jewish people out of Egypt. It's crazy. And people still sit back and deny it. It's nuts.
And, I mean, again, propaganda, and it works. It works. Whatever, Yasser Arafat, what he started there, actually working for them, because that man was a Jew hater.
Big time. Big time.
Just like the rest of radical Islam, and
so is Barack Saddam Hussein Obama.
Of course.
And
then they took the Palestinian as a Trojan horse. These people, I'm not saying they're not suffering. They are suffering greatly, these people. But the main reason they are suffering is for their own leaders, not Israel. The entire world pointing a finger at Israel. And we keep saying, what about Hamas, guys? And then they say, well, Hamas is Israel invention, and it's Israel's fault that Hamas exists, and it's Israel's fault October 7th, because occupation of 75 years, and they make all this. It's like, we're just sitting there. What are you guys talking about? It's like telling a woman that her husband beat her up, and it's her fault. It's the same kind of abusive manner. And no, it isn't. No, it isn't Israel's fault. Just look at the history. That man created a movement, and that movement, he took these people as Trojan horse because they were perfect. That's why they keep them refugee. It's perfect. The fact they got stuck outside of Israel, and then Yasser Arafat, let's make peoplehood out of them. Let's make it a cause. And all of a sudden, you have all these righteous, BLMers and whatever. Like, to us, it's really just bunker, complete psychotic that there is something like queers for Palestine. We're like,
man,
what are they talking about? What are they talking about? First of all, Israel is the only country in the Middle East that, gay people can live. The only country,
in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, the only country where actually, if you look it up, Israel provided an asylum. Maybe I'm not saying it right. Excuse me. Sometimes my English isn't perfect. But Israel gave protection to Palestinian gays. They let them come in and live in the country, protecting them from who? From their own family wanting to kill them. And then you have people here supporting what? This is the most idiotic movement on planet Earth. And also the fact that Black people, stand with that and ignoring entirely that Islam been enslaving African people for thousands of years.
Oh.
And actually, in those countries, if you are a Black person in a Muslim country, you will be called names and you would be considered a second-degree citizen. They're mean to Black people. They're mean to Palestinians too. Ask a person from Gaza. I call them Gazan, by the way, because it's a little more accurate to call them that way. And if you ask a Gazan if he got permission to go to either Egypt or Israel, where would he like to go? Of course, it would be Israel, because in Israel he could be a first-class citizen, just like Israeli Arabs, because it's democracy, and all people in Israel, Christian, Muslim, Jews, live equal life and have equal rights. And you can look all of it. It's all backed up by, a lot of information out there about there was at one point an Israeli Arab who got in the Supreme Court and in fact got one president in jail, a Jewish president, he got him in jail. And so, you got to ask questions, because this is really dangerous right now, what's going on in the U.S. For me, it's extremely alarming. My husband always calmed me down that, where we live, there's plenty of Republicans. And as much as, I have a lot of what you call the woke, I call this place woke central, California.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but, luckily, there's a lot of really good Christians live around here, and Republicans, and I feel safe that way, in my neighborhood. I feel safe. I feel like these folks, maybe you heard of Back the Blue in Nevada County, are wonderful people, veterans and ex-policemen who are basically created their organization when the BLM and defund the police and all that came out.
Yep. I have friends, and I also have family members that are active duty sheriffs, police officers, retired. So yeah.
And they know what's up. They know what's up, So I kind of joined forces with these people, because they also tell me, don't worry, don't be scared. If ever anyone gives you a problem, we're going to come and help you. And, so I feel pretty safe. But I'll tell you that I've been seeing, we have some Free Palestine people over here, and they've been literally importing. They'll go to Sacramento and they bring to my town Muslim, Palestinians to protest with them, so they look more authentic and genuine, and not just like bunch of spoiled American kids, who scream bunch of stuff. They actually bring them over here, and then these people come here and they see it's a good place, and they're like, oh, maybe I'll move here. And I'm sorry to say, but I chose this place. I moved here because it felt far enough. And I asked my husband, I was like, where are we gonna go? Basically, because to me, I know where it's going, and that's why I encourage people to read about the Muslim Brotherhood and the 100-year plan for the West. And some of the categories there that you read are actually already in action. It's all already happening.
And it's available online too.
Oh yeah, it's available. I've been sending it to many people, but you can find many different sources that will provide you, and it takes some time to read it. But I do
it's a lot of reads, I'll tell you that.
And I encourage people to read it and learn about it, because in the US there is a thing too with politically correct. I talked with my officer friend the other day and kind of gave him a bit of a download, because I just live in a small little town, and the police here, they don't really know much about radical Islam. And it's almost like they're tiptoeing, because it's different people, different race, different religion, and we should be very polite around it. And I'm like, no, guys, don't be that way. Don't be that way, because they take advantage of you.
Yep, they swindle you in, and then Boom.
Yeah, they take advantage of of the innocent and ignorance. The
Mhm.
way, because we're so far here from the Middle East, people are they're like sensitized to it. They don't
Yeah,
know to recognize.
desensitized it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. So it's just far enough where you're too innocent in the West. European were innocent before too, but now they know.
Mhm.
Now they know. And in Canada,
Oh man, Canada, man, that place is so hopeless.
and I'll be
Oh.
really watchful because Central America and South America have been receiving them for some years, and now they're walking up, they're coming through the border, like coming to the
Mhm.
US. You look, there's footages of people that are trying to cross, and they're not Mexicans
Nope.
anymore.
Nope.
They're from Turkey, Lebanon,
China.
Syria. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's a part of the plan to like destabilize the whole the Western world. That's the whole
Yeah.
plan.
And if you look how it started in Iran, it
Mhm.
started exactly like that. Iran was, a free democratic country. Women were walking around with mini skirts. They were going to the beach. And the way it started was through the universities and social justice movements.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh
And
man.
once they get elected, then it's done.
Yeah, it's all over once they get elected.
Exactly.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you have this Jamal guy now that's running. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Well, I believe we already had a Muslim as a president, Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna get in trouble for that guy. But anyways, I never liked him in the beginning because I just felt that he was a thief and a liar and a crook.
Yeah.
And so and the previous guy, George W. Bush, he's a joke too. So I just I don't mind me. I go on tangents about these guys
Oh no, I
because
like hearing about that.
because the Obamas, the Bushes, and the Clintons, they're all in it together when it comes to destroying America. So that this is a part of the global plan to weaken the West, not only with all of this chaos, also to financially just like boom destroy everything.
Oh yeah.
It's all a part of the one. It's all a part of the one world government plan. So, and boy, it looks like they're succeeding at it, but they're going to be in for a rude awakening at the end when God throttles all of them. So it's going to be all good. So,
And you know what? We need to be vigilant, especially
hmm
with this the United States,
hmm
I really pray, I really pray that people can wake up and that the majority is not going to allow, crap like this happen. And honestly, I just pray it's not going to be these Democrats winning,
hmm and the Rhino.
because I'm not trying to be too politics or anything here, but I think that's where, where we they open the gates, they open the doors, they
hmm
humanitarian, and let's help them and all that. And I'm like, no guys, because they're lying.
Yeah,
So
they're all spineless. They're all spineless
you'll
from
have
both
good
parties.
citizen
hmm
working and all that until it's time to go. This
Yep.
globalized intifada is very real thing. Look what happened in Los Angeles 2 days ago.
Oh goodness sakes, man, that was insane. And,
And
and I got
and
to
my
tell you,
friend,
Sherry,
yeah,
they're all in it on both sides of the aisle. I've done
yeah,
my homework.
yeah,
Unfortunately, they're all in on it together.
yeah,
They're all getting paid to let
yeah,
this happen. And people are like, "Oh, look at that! Ted Cruz just did that. He just told that guy." I'm like, "Do you realize this is a circus? They are all playing us right now. They're all doing it."
yeah,
And it's hard for people to comprehend that if they really wanted to do something to stop all of this, they would have done it 4 years ago.
yeah,
They would have, all of them. So they're all
yeah.
guilty right now, as far as I'm concerned. They're all guilty because they're all club members. We just aren't invited.
I do see that. I do
Yeah.
see that.
So we have to really, at the end of the day, as believers and as the Jewish population also, that we all have to like band together and take care of each other ourselves, because The guys in the white hats and the tinfoils aren't coming.
And yeah, and we only have, I'm a believer too, even that I'm Jewish, but nonetheless, I also I do love Jesus too, and I know a lot about it, and I have a lot of respect to Christianity and believers, and I have a lot of interest, and I find that's the people who saved us, my family, so I always have that kind of respect, because and I do feel like we're standing together in this country right now, especially, and you want to pay attention who's burning your flag and who's putting in university, taking out the American flag and putting Islamic flag instead. You want to pay attention to those things. This is not just activism. These kids are brainwashed. There is someone operating them. That's how it happened in Nazi Germany too. It's not happening in one day.
No, and it's
Once
that George
October
Soros
7
money.
happened, I already went there right away. I'm pretty loud activist on social media too. And I went there right away. October 7 happened, and I was like, oh, just watch this. Just watch this going down, because we already knew what exactly going to go down in this country.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's good that you're very expressive about all of this, because it needs to be talked about, because a lot of people are just like sitting behind closed doors and just letting it all like try to fall by the wayside, and it's not going to fall by the wayside. The frequency of all of this is going to increase. So it's better to make sure that folks are well aware and they can do their own research on it. Oops, I said something that they don't probably like. I said do your own research. Oh no.
And teach your children better. Don't let your kid wear a keffiyeh and go out there. It isn't okay. This is not activist. This is not Vietnam War when all the hippies went out and peace and love. And this is not the same.
Peace and love, bro.
Yeah, this is not Vietnam War. This is not for kids to go. This activism is corrupted, and these kids are being used, and these BLM, these Native Americans, all these people who are standing with Palestine are being used. And, again, in those documents of the 100-year plan, they even state there that they're going to use the Palestinian cause to Islamify the world, okay? They're saying it there. They're using it, and it works. And everyone need to have their eyes extra open, protect your country, your religion,
your families.
You don't want to be conquered. You don't want to become Iran. You don't want all these Arabs, God bless the people who live in America, but you don't want to see what happened if all of a sudden there is a rising of Islamic powers. You don't want to see what's going to happen in all these towns where there is all these Arab communities. I mean, it's already happened. Look what happened in Los Angeles, like I said. A lot of them are Arab people coming in front of a synagogue and attacking Jews. And then in Russia, because you know how they say first they're coming for the Saturday people, then they're going to come for the Sunday people.
Yep, and it's in their writings. And we're going to end on that note. That was good, because they are coming for the churches.
Yep,
they are.
Yep.
They are. So get ready, folks, and just put on the full armor of God and be ready, because we are really going to have to stand together. All right.
Right.
So God bless you guys. Take care of one another, and we will see you soon. I'll share something with you when we're done right now. So please, folks, pray for the peace of Jerusalem as we're called by God to do. Take care.